Sometimes their emotional reaction will tend to educate us or make us look at things in a different way. But I think by not allowing them to speak at each juncture for whatever period of time that we would be considering tonight, we still all get input from people all day, every day, and on a multitude of different communication levels, and we're able to use that to make our decisions. So I think that that's another thing that we really need to promote. Yes, we want people to come to the meetings. We want people to speak in a way that will allow us to conduct an effective business meeting. But at the same time, I don't want it to be viewed, if we don't go in that direction, that we're stifling the comment, because I think all of us that are sitting here are well aware of the fact that people are able to get in touch with us multiple different ways and on multiple different levels to help us make that decision. So I would be more in favor of keeping it the way that it is now, or with, if we wanted to try some change where we're going to separate agenda items versus non-agenda items, but adding it in at every juncture, I just don't see that making it run more smoothly at this point.
I think you just want to keep in mind that they wouldn't get a chance to talk till 10, 11, 12 o'clock if you put it at the end. That's the reason that we moved it forward, was to give the public an opportunity to speak. If they wanted to leave after that, they could leave. So I understand what you're trying to say, but that's the rationale that we use to move forward. And I think when somebody gets 5 minutes to speak, you ought to be able to cover just about everything.
Agenda and
agenda and, give it to me, I kind of like it the way it is. I was willing to discuss it, though. I just wanted you to know that there was a reason why it was moved from the end to the beginning, and that was mainly for the public.
okay. How strong do you feel about that? Is that okay?
Is it a make or breaker in my life?
Okay.
No. I mean,
what
if,
we haven't been changing it from 5 to 3 since there's been a new council, and if that's something that you feel,
the only issue is, we had, I made sure to look it up, so I didn't, we've had several meetings where 70 people spoke,
right.
Another meeting where 40 people spoke,
right.
Another meeting, I think several meetings where 25, 30 people spoke.
Right.
It's good, I'm glad people are getting their opinions out, but it also, the reason why we're having this meeting now is because we haven't been able to get the business of the city done. And this is, I'm fine if the council as a whole decides to go otherwise, but the fact that we've had to postpone this for months says that we're not functioning well as a body, and I could see how that'd be a concern to people. In the same way, there is a balance between folks feeling like they're disenfranchised.
Maybe some of these real strong issues will resolve themselves, and we won't get 70 or 40 people. And
Hopefully.
but you know what? I'm in favor of letting people have their 5 minutes, quite frankly, even if 70 come.
Well, that was my next.
If you want to change that and get rid of that 3,
Yeah.
I can go with
Yeah.
that for you. Because you know what, give them 5 minutes. You should be able to cover whatever you need to cover. And usually it's a real strong issue when 40 people come forward. Let them have their time, I think. So.
Well, I can understand the point that you've both made, that the people are able to talk on whatever they're going to talk about without having to wait until 10:30 at night to be there. That is respectful, and so I agree. I think that probably of the two options that I've heard from the table, I like the fact of leaving it like that, but I still like that. I'm still committed to that, letting people talk on the particular agenda item, but it's not worth pushing for, and if we generally like the way it is right now, I would just ask that we don't limit people to 3 minutes, no matter how many people are coming up to the podium. I would like that removed, if everybody agrees with that.
I agree with that, Mayor, but I have another point. I don't know how other cities handle this, I'm just throwing it out here. I don't know if other cities, because I don't watch other cities' council meetings, do they allow residents as well as non-residents or businesses that are not in the city come and speak at public comment for 5 minutes? That's the question.
I attended
I don't know.
I attended the Rochester Hills Council meeting, and they only allow 3 minutes, but they do allow residents and non-residents.
Okay.
Sterling Heights seemed to also allow residents and non-residents, but I can't say for how many minutes.
Legally, we have to.
And that was my point, is the
Yeah,
Open
so-
Meetings Act, you cannot, I mean, public meetings are open to anyone who wants to come in. Now, you know, if you really, really wanted to segregate the businesses and residents from the non-businesses and residents, then we could give a priority. You know, you could work that into your rules, but really you have to, it's open to any,
Sure.
We
to
can do that
anyone.
now anyways, if we wanted to, then we could move somebody forward with change of the rules.
If that's something that you wanted to do, I would recommend that you put it in your rules,
Discriminate.
just so that whatever you do, as long as you're applying it, you know, consistently, you're going to be fine. What you don't want is to make changes on the fly, because
Right.
then it's going to be perceived as a content-based rule, that, you know, that you don't want that particular speech. So as long as you have rules and you apply them universally, you have a lot of discretion with that.
I'm fine with leaving it up front.
And, you know,
5 minutes up front.
5 months up front, same place.
Sounds like a plan.
And the final one that I would like to discuss at this point is number 21, absences at the council meetings. I think that it would be more respectful if we didn't have to feel bound to notifying the city manager, the city attorney, and the city clerk of your absence. If in fact something happens in your life and you can't make the council meeting, a phone call to one person should suffice. We're all adults. I don't think we're going to be playing hooky for any, you know, for a non-reason. So I just like to have it be a little less restrictive, and that was just another thought that I had for discussion.
Yep.
Does anybody else have any recommendations for rules?
So what would you change it, how would that read then,
Well,
on number 21?
It would just simply say that council members who have unexpected circumstances are not bound by a requirement to notify more than one person. I don't know.
It used to be the same when you take the end out and put an or on there. That's all you have to do.
Yeah.
Take the end down and put or on there. Could be
Yeah.
City manager, you know.
Yeah, Mayor, if I may, just, the reason why this was added was to make sure, because, you know, if you notify the 3 of us, then it's very likely that that can be communicated. The chances of getting hold of 3 are better than just one individual if you have just one person. But you certainly can change that however you want to. It's just that somebody might be out of the office and they don't get the message until, you know, they're at the meeting and they don't know.
Councilman Campbell's recommendation, just change it to or.
And that would be
And that'd be
acceptable,
fine, it would be
right?
acceptable to me, yeah.
City manager or city attorney or city clerk?
Councilman Slater?
I did want to have a discussion about the mail. Okay. I know it might be a touchy subject, but, you know, I feel very strongly that mail that is sent to the city is the city's mail, okay? It doesn't belong to me, it doesn't belong to you, unless it's confidential. And if somebody's sending personal mail to the city, they shouldn't be sending personal mail to the city, they should be sending it to you or us personally. So I don't know if we have to get putting a rule in here, but I think the mail issue, to protect this city, we need mail that is addressed to the mayor and/or just a council person to be opened in a timely fashion so that we don't get put in jeopardy. And I believe anything addressed to the mayor should be handled as property of the city, not property of an individual.
I received mail today, and here's a letter to Mayor Janice Daniels from Ryan Landry. It's a personal letter from a resident to me, and it's about me, and it's actually support of me. That's my mail, I think. And here's another letter from a gentleman who lives in Lincoln Park, and it's a letter to me. Just a note to thank you for standing up for what you believe in. That doesn't need to be read by the city, as far as I'm concerned. That's the kind of mail I was concerned about. When I came in and there were 12 letters like this that had all been opened, I felt a little bit violated because it was mail addressed to me. I had Christmas cards, etc. Those are pretty obviously not city business. I love this city. I would never do anything to disrupt the flow of business.
And I'm not saying you would, but you may cause a problem unintentionally. I don't think you would ever do anything intentionally. And what would happen if you're gone on vacation? And what would happen?
Well, obviously, if I was going on vacation.
Well, if it's okay during your time gone, then I think there has to be some trust here between our city administration and us, okay? I know I've gotten the same type of letters to me, okay? If somebody in the city opened that up and saw that it was a personal letter addressed to the mayor, they would close it and put it in your personal mail, okay? They wouldn't send it to the media or they wouldn't publish it. I know they would do that. What they're looking for are things that are addressed to the city for business, okay?
And I have no problem with that.
I think we just need to understand that nobody's here to violate anybody's mail, but I feel very strongly to protect the city, if need be, I'm going to propose a rule that, I don't know where it's going to go, but I think mail addressed to the mayor that is not stamped confidential or personal should get opened, okay? And then it should be disseminated to the proper people. That's the way it's been done for the 30, 40 years that I've been around this city, and we've never had a problem, never. So I would just ask you if you would just allow that to go back to the way it was, and we can just drop this issue.
Do you think these can't be differentiated between city business and personal letters and cards? I think they can clearly be identified as personal letters and cards, and I feel strongly about it that they're my mail. If there's something that is of a city related business, it's really clearly identified on the envelope, and quite frankly, oftentimes, it's copied to someone else as well. Rarely am I the only person, or the mayor the only person, that gets these important city announcements. And quite frankly, I spoke with Attorney Bloom about this a long time ago, or weeks ago, and we decided that if I came in once a week, that would be sufficient if I opened the mail once a week. Beyond that, I actually like coming to the city, so I'm here a couple times a week. And if there was something that I didn't pick up, I'm sure Aileen could call me if that was an issue. I just don't see that there's an issue that I'm not going to be here to open the mail that's made out to me.
Well, maybe I could get the city, Aileen, to just mention how was it done in the past? Maybe you could just let us all know. And I brought it up for discussion. I'd like to hear from other members if they feel that the mail belongs to the city, or they believe the mail belongs to Mayor Daniels. So I think it belongs to the city when it's addressed to the mayor. But
the flow of mail, it comes into the clerk's office directly from the postal delivery person, and it's sorted. All council mail comes into my office. Except for the mayor's mail, which is handled down at the manager's office. We put it in the manager's office mailbox. The manager's office employee picks that up and sorts through it and makes those determinations. And then whatever is determined as personal mail for the mayor would get sent back to my office and be put in her council mailbox.
But is generally that open before it came down to you?
Yes. Well, up until recently, yes.
in the business world, the CEO generally is going to have the office manager or somebody in the company open their mail, unless it's marked personal and confidential.
All right.
That gets handed over to them. Everything else, you know, they appreciate the assistance of somebody looking at things and saying, okay, this is not priority, whatever, and set it aside. So I understand. I mean, you know, I've gotten Christmas cards and personal mail here as well. So I understand how there's a feeling of maybe a violation of privacy or whatnot. But we, at the end of the day, we're elected city officials, and the city has to go about doing their business. And if there's something in one of those envelopes that just says Mayor Janice Daniels with the city's address on it, and, you know, the water main outside my house broke, that's a crazy thing for somebody to write in a letter. But if they need to attend to that on a more immediate basis than maybe you every 2 or 3 days coming in, you know, it could be handled immediately by somebody in the city. So that's my 2 cents.
And I had another issue, or another question as well, Lori. And would that type of mail be eligible to be requested pursuant to FOIA?
And that, yes, it is, if it comes into the city, it is subject to FOIA. Now, and again, even though it looks like a personal letter, we get lots of mail that's just like that. That's business, even though it's hand addressed and written. It's business mail as well, and all of that would be subject to FOIA.
We've gotten checks from people that write envelopes like that to the police department that have money in them, have checks in them.
I mean, I guess that's my concern, and I think perhaps, you know, there's a process for keeping mail personal and confidential. Perhaps it hasn't been widely publicized at this point because we didn't have that issue, but there is a procedure for someone that wants to send you a letter and have it kept personal and confidential. I guess I would just be concerned at this point, why put yourself or anyone else for that matter at risk if the information is, you know, by law considered to be public information, you know, whether it's requested at some point or not. Why put yourself at risk? I mean, especially in light of talking about, well, you know, if we're grown adults and we don't need to provide, you know, information to multiple people if we're not going to be here, and we're going to kind of move away from doing that. I mean, I think that, again, not doing something like that, not necessarily being up here to get your mail every day, it just doesn't seem, it doesn't seem prudent to open ourselves up to that risk if at the end of the day the information is already determined to be public information. So, I don't know. I think there is some concern, and just speaking on behalf of myself, I don't know why anyone else would feel this way or support or not support it, but we, you know, there was public inquiry about it. There was a lot of public inquiry about it, so I feel like it's necessary for us to at least express that concern at the council table so that people are aware that we're addressing the issue and having a discussion about it.
Councilman Flynn?
I have no problem with the city opening my mail, but I do have a question for the attorney. If it's marked personal and confidential, would it still be open? The protocol, it would not be open. The other question is, if it's marked personal and confidential, is it still subject to FOIA?
Well, again, it could be.
Could be.
That's a closer question.
Okay.
If it's marked personal and confidential, it's possible that it wouldn't be. There's no bright line for that.
Yeah.
How does FOIA, let's say Mayor Daniels has a letter and it's not open, she takes it home, and then if somebody wants to FOIA that information, how does anybody follow up on that or determine that she actually even got that mail if it wasn't opened or logged in or whatever?
I'm hoping that when you're doing mail that you are keeping it so that we can comply if there are FOIA requests, and I'm sure that you probably are doing
Yeah.
that.
Do you have to keep that for 3 years?
Yeah, hopefully the FOIA request would be, you know, again, it depends on what.
Without, I think it's okay to have folks open up the mail. I don't see any reason why not at this point. And, you know, when I send folks invoices, I usually hand address it because I know statistically you're more likely to open up a hand addressed envelope.
That's true.
And so,
That's true.
you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, do we just Are you suggesting putting it in the rules?
I'm asking that Mayor Daniels just goes back to the way it used to be and don't have to put it in the rules. But
That's fine.
That's fine.
Councilman Slater, really, it's not that big of an issue.
Okay. I would prefer not to put it in the rules.
That's
I would
fine.
just as soon go back to the way it used to be.
Thank you, Jim.
I was, yeah, thank you for
I appreciate that.
explaining it in detail and taking all this time of yours to do so.
I have one
Let's
quick-
go.
One quick thing.
Yes.
To add. Just because I don't think that this is addressed in our prior rules because we were in the process of putting together the code of ethics, but we don't have anything in here that will just generate when that would be reviewed by the new council. So I was just proposing that we add it in somewhere, maybe under number 1. Well, let me make sure that I'm referencing the right thing. The first thing where we're going to be addressing the appointment of Mayor Pro Tem each year and appointing the person that would be next among the list. I thought that perhaps we should add a provision in there just saying that also at that first meeting, we would also review the code of ethics and the new sitting council members or the sitting council members would review the code of ethics and either absent any revisions, it would be adopted by that council, or we would discuss any revisions and then adopt it. So however way we want to put it in there, I just think that we should have it so it's generated at the same time we're doing everything else.
I'm not sure I understand. Are you saying that when we have a new mayor pro tem, we address the code of ethics again?
Yeah, I was just suggesting a timeline, since we're already going to address the mayor pro tem each year to put someone new there, that that's also the time that we review the code of ethics and either make any revisions or adopt it. Just to set a timeline, we didn't have anything in there, and I think that's kind of how it slipped by when we had new people this year.
I have a problem with that.
Okay.
Okay.
Are we done? Anybody else have other changes that they would want to make to the rules of procedure? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.